wanted to share in this video is as well why we wanted to start van life. So this has been in our mind for a long time. There was this desire in us because both of us followed a path that we wouldn't call an orthodox path. We really wanted to discover life and create our own thinking. So that meant as well thinking outside the box, thinking outside the matrix. And for me, it was to travel the world. So really renouncing my old life, living my old life in Paris, and just moving across the world and start traveling. So this was part of the spiritual awakening that I experienced in 2017. And this is what I'm talking about. So the van life is so much more than just van life just because we want to showcase our life. It's way more than this. It's first to reclaim this connection we have with nature. Is to reclaim this ultimate sovereignty, this individual freedom that we all have, to be able to just be on lands, on free lands. And I'm really, really thankful that we can be in spaces where we don't feel that much this corruption of the land. Because we've been feeling it a lot traveling, that there was a lot of this corruption because sadly the hearts of people have been consumed by greed, by darkness. And we have come here to accept this darkness, to recognize polarities, but also transcend these polarities. So this search for freedom, this is the greater calling in it, in deciding to start this van life. And we are learning each day as well, because we have our moments, we're sharing about our struggles when it comes to the weather, but it's part of it. But I feel like, and maybe you will join me after on it, but I think it was the natural continuity of our travels to not do van life, especially when it comes to renting a place in California. It's super expensive. So this is part of it as well, like the financial aspect that we have as well in living the van life.
Exactly. And to join you on what you were saying previously is definitely the whole thing with this freedom that you and I both crave. And that's why we both met along our own journey, individual journey coming together. And this is something that we both have been about, and this is something that I've been about since I can really remember. I had this call when I was a teenager to just be outside of the matrix and be able to travel and do art and be able to just be free and not have to pay rent. And I used to think this back in 2004, and it didn't become a reality till 2023. But just as you mentioned prior, it's been a progression of our journey. So it's only natural that at this point in our life, we're having this experience, because it's not ultimately what we want to experience, but it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey of walking on the path that is less traveled, right? To be able to learn to live with nature, to actually learn how to thrive in nature. And the only way that you can learn this and acquire these skills is to exit the conventional path and to rediscover that on your own path, your own individual journey. And if you are blessed to have a partner along the way, that's a true blessing, because if not, this is a path that is a path that can be very lonely because you need a lot of alone time. You need a lot of solitude to truly be able to gain that wisdom that you can only hear when you're in silence, when you're away from the distractions, when you're away from having to work a 9 to 5 to be able to pay rent, to pay the electric and water bill, to pay the trash, to pay everything you have to pay for. Just to live in a town, in a city, and have a quote unquote normal life, you gotta pay. You gotta pay for everything. And then there's no freedom in being able to sit with yourself, to truly be able to ask the big questions and to actually listen to the voice of God, to actually listen to the voice of the divine guiding you, because we are led to believe that it's normal to just listen to the voice of society and what is considered to be normal. But when you are now left to be truly an individual with your own consciousness, with your own awareness, and to learn how to make choices through discernment, that's actually becoming a real adult. Because when we're just living with society and following a way of life that has been given to us, that is actually not natural, what happens is we're weakened. So this is part of us actually gaining more strength and building more skills for us to be able to adapt in whatever circumstances, right?
Yeah. And when we talk about exiting the matrix, what do we mean by that? We mean it's in your own thinking as well, your own consciousness. And we both haven't had a regular job for the past few years, and we were able to make it living from our gifts or finding ways in general to be able to have finances. But seeing ourselves back in the rat race, as they call it, we can't. This is something that we can't even think about, because this is not the path that we have chosen. And everything that we've been sacrificing the past few years to live overseas, to travel, experiencing also our challenges when it comes to finances during our travels as well, sometimes lacking, but still being strong enough to keep pushing, because we don't want to go back to this life that is a poison for you. And this is why we have created this channel as well, is to share this inner freedom as well. This search for self, this deeper healing process that we are on as a collective. Because I'm talking as Galia, but we are all concerned by this deep healing. And we need to heal our consciousness. We need to understand that we've been lied to, that our governments have been lying to us. And we had to experience everything. We lived actually illegally for 2.5 years in Mexico. So we had to really move through the system. And sometimes you can't play by the rules. And this is what it is. Because this is part of it. This is part of reclaiming what has been taken away from us. And our ability to think, our ability to choose what we want to believe in.
Exactly.
When it comes to the divine, our divine connection, this exchange, we don't need a middleman. We can experience this connection with God. It's in us. It's inherent. So both of us, we had to really face people when people tell you what's normal and what's acceptable.
Yeah.
Because what's normal and acceptable, it doesn't mean that it's right. We need to understand that there's a big programming. And this programming that we've been given at birth, this social identity, we are meant to really break free from this social identity, because this is constraining.
Exactly.
This is restricting our pure wisdom.
Exactly. And the thing is that is the biggest lie that is sold to you by your current governments, right? Governments, which a government is governing over the mental, right? It is giving you rules to keep you actually from rediscovering your God-given rights. And it keeps people stuck and trapped. And this is what we are here to do. And that's what Schools of Consciousness is all about. Because we understand the changes that we're in. We are seeing things through a spiritual, scientific, and just in general, connected way. But we're understanding the cycles and the times that we're in, the times that our ancestors talked about. We're seeing the prophecies, right, that we read about in Bibles and different scriptures. These are the times that our ancestors talked about. When the last tree is cut, when the water is poisoned, and there is nothing left. These are the times that we are headed to, and we're seeing it. So we have a choice. There's a split happening because there are people that are going to go against God's way. Wanting to have power to create artificial things to mimic God's potential, which is our potential. It's within us, right? But not the part that wants to destroy, that wants to control, that wants to own. That is the poison. This is why we see what we see. Why there's so many people that are homeless. Why are so many Americans now having to live in their vehicles in order to just be able to live? Why are so many people starving all over the world? This is all connected to colonialism, capitalism. Now, there is a place for capitalism. I get it in 2023. But we have to find a balance where nature and technology can come together, where spirit and science can merge, where we can truly bring in that Christ light, God's light, and embody it once again within the way that we connect, within the way that we commune with nature, how we commune with the people around us, and how we respect one another. Because that's coming from self-respect, because we know and we honor our body as a temple of God. And this is why we are here. And this is why, van life has been perfect for us, a perfect timing for us to be able to do this.
Yeah, and nature cannot be colonized, or can no longer be colonized by humans, because we need to understand as well, and we are on indigenous lands, and how beautiful it is to be on indigenous lands, because there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of enlightening moments with ourselves, because we realize as well, it's like we can see an American flag, but we can't forget about history and what happened and how those lands that are so precious have been taken away by using force, by using weapons, by spilling blood. And now we are here in this timeline, and I love the fact that you talked about the ancestors and the ancestors' words, because we are here to fulfill this prophecy. And this prophecy is to gather around and before something that is so much more higher. And this truth, and this ultimate truth that we all share, is God's truth. And now it's time for the children of God to unite and realize that it doesn't matter what form you give to divinity or what name you give to divinity. We are all connected, and we are all serving this one truth. And the real being of integrity, and the being that can see beyond the lies, is the being who is understanding that actually God is beyond forms. God is beyond names. God is beyond genders. Because all of these elements are part of some type of plan, some type of distortion. Now we see a lot of separation between men and women, a lot of separation between races. There's a lot of this. But now it's time to see ourselves on a soul level, okay? To humble ourselves. To humble ourselves and really see ourselves on this soul level, because this is the only thing that exists. And you know what I like to do every single morning? I like taking refuge. Because taking refuge in the Buddha, in the Sangam, in the Dharma, it's the law of our life, or why we are here, our duty as human beings. And our duty as human beings is to serve, to be at service. Because when we are not at service, we are against others. We are against people. Imagine if tomorrow everyone starts to work on themselves. Everyone starts to do this deep inner work. Everyone starts to be more compassionate, more loving, understanding when their ego self is acting out. And instead of feeding the anger, instead of feeding the greed, the pride, or whatever deadly sin it is, right? No matter what deadly sin, the way you behave with your family, how you treat your mother, how you treat your father, and no matter what they did to you, it doesn't matter, because you were born to forgive. You were born to transcend. So this is the whole spectrum. This is the whole spectrum of freedom, of consciousness, of awakening, this awakening process. It has to do with who are you going to choose to be? Because if you're still living by your parents' ideal, you're not truly living. If you're living by your family's ideal, you're not living either. Like, oh, your friends, your partner, society in general, you will never be able to truly be free. And we're talking about this soul freedom. We're not talking about just being free on a material level, because we can contemplate this freedom for a short period of time, but eventually, you know, there are people on this planet who have a lot of finances and who are really unhappy, and this is because something is missing within themselves, and this is the soul connection. And this is what Schools of Consciousness is about. It's uniting the different branches of consciousness. That means the different traditions, different religions, and coming to an understanding that we are all one, and ultimately we need to work on developing ourselves, our consciousness. And we develop our consciousness through remembrance, through ancient remembrance as well. And we are here to remind each other of who we truly are.
Because we're here to learn to embody that principle of love that has been lacking in our humanity, right? That principle of unity, and us being children of God, children of the one source, and that we're here to honor that and to honor one another. And this is that process that we're in, right? Because we're all human, and we all have things that we came here to learn, things that we came to perfect, because this is that journey of personal development, developing our soul, and becoming a greater version of ourselves every single day throughout every lifetime.